Hey everybody out in YouTube land, my name is Mike and I love guitars. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at my 2014 Gibson LPJ. I've had this guitar for about a year and a half now and it's time to do some upgrades. The parts I've ordered have come in and I'm ready to get everything installed. Let's do this. A year and a half ago, my family and I were driving back from my parents' house on Christmas Eve, and we decided to stop at one of my favorite out-of-the-way pawn shops that actually happened to be open on the holiday. It's in a small college town in Texas, and it actually has some pretty decent music gear there regularly thanks to all the students who live there. Now, on that particular day, I walked in not really expecting to find much at all, but almost immediately found this 2014 LPJ for cheap. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the LPJ, it is not a Les Paul Jr. It is a basic entry-level Les Paul guitar with a very unfortunate name that causes a lot of confusion for people. Now, what is fortunate is that it was very affordable, comparatively speaking, for a USA-made Gibson guitar. It originally retailed for only $762. I believe it was only available in 2013 and 2014, but if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments below. It also had slightly different specs for those 2 years that it was available. The main difference between the two is the pickups. The 2013 had a 498T in the bridge and a 490R in the neck, while the 2014 has 61 zebra Alnico 5s. Interestingly, the pickup covers on the 2013 were textured black and didn't have any pole piece screws, making them almost look like active pickups. The pickups on the 2014 were actually uncovered zebras, as you can see on mine. The only other real difference is that the 2014 has the nice 120th anniversary inlay at the 12th fret. Mostly what made this guitar so affordable was the lack of a particularly polished finish. Like the Les Paul Studio, there is no binding on the body, but it also has a much sharper, less rounded edge on the maple top than the Studio does. On the maple top and the maple neck, grain filler was applied, but no grain filler was applied to the mahogany back of the guitar. The colors also weren't the most appealing in the Gibson catalog, and the finish itself is extremely thin and wears through quite easily, which you can see right here on mine. Having said all that, this guitar plays and sounds really nicely. It actually sounds a lot like my 2020 Les Paul Traditional Pro 5, which is a fantastic guitar and my current number 2. Liking the way this plays, I decided this was a perfect candidate to start modding. Almost immediately, I replaced the knobs with my preferred Gibson speed knobs. It originally came with even larger Supreme grip speed knobs, which I really didn't care for much. After that, I just kind of sat on it for a little while thinking about the things that I wanted to change. I thought the big LPJ on the truss rod cover was kind of ugly, so I knew I wanted to replace that. I also didn't particularly care for the way the bridge and tailpiece were a satin finish while the tuning keys weren't. It just kind of felt a little mismatched to me. I finally decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on upgrading this guitar when I recently became aware of the Stratosphere website. What the Stratosphere does is they buy brand new Gibson, Fender, and other guitars, and then they strip them down and sell the parts off individually. Now, if you were to buy all those parts to build a guitar completely stock, you would end up spending more money buying through the Stratosphere than if you just bought the guitar brand new. However, if you want to put together a truly custom instrument and are already planning on replacing all the hardware and electronics anyway, you can get a body and neck for significantly less from them, buy all your upgraded parts, and then you don't have a box full of spare parts laying around when you're done. Stratosphere is also good if you already have a box of spare parts laying around and want to build a guitar, or if you only need a few extra parts for upgrades or replacements. Now, even though all of their guitars are brand new, the parts themselves are technically used as they've been installed on guitars before, so the parts you're buying, you're only paying about 2/3 what you would if you had ordered those parts new from Fender or Gibson. Well, I guess that's enough yammering about guitar and part information, so let's talk about the upgrades themselves. First, I ordered a chrome bridge and tailpiece set off a 2021 Les Paul Standard. Now, the parts that Gibson is currently using on those are actually made by Tone Pros, which I've become a big fan of lately. Next, I ordered a blank truss rod cover to replace the ugly original. And then finally, even though I like the sound of the 61 Zebra set well enough, I decided to go ahead and order a tradbucker to put in the bridge position and see how I like that. Now, the original stock pickup and the tradbucker both use the newer style Gibson Quick Connect. So if I decide I like the 61 Zebra sound better, it should be really easy to go back and swap that to the original. So let's get to the upgrades. Okay, the upgrades are all complete, and I've listened back to the before and after audio tracks. So what do I think? Well, aesthetically, I think the guitar looks much nicer now. The blank truss rod cover and the chrome hardware are a vast improvement over the factory pieces to my eyes. Now, I did have one, oh man, moment when I realized that the chrome hardware from Stratosphere did not include the original bushings. That means the bushings on this guitar are still factory, which means they're actually a brushed finish. Now, luckily, those pieces are almost completely hidden by the bridge and the tailpiece themselves, so it's unlikely that anyone but me will ever notice. Finally, I'm kind of kicking myself now for not realizing that the toggle switch also has a brushed finish, so I'm going to add that to an upgrade list for later. As far as the new pickup goes, I'll be honest, I don't really hear much of a difference between the stock 498T and the Tradbucker. The Tradbucker might have just a little bit more bite to it, but otherwise they sound really similar here in my cave. I don't regret buying the pickup though, because now I have a spare just in case I ever need or want to swap out a pickup in something else later. Finally, do I regret spending almost $200 in upgrades for a guitar that only cost me $300 to begin with? Not at all. I love tweaking and personalizing guitars. I do keep all the parts that I replace just in case I decide to sell a guitar later, but making a guitar work better for me is at the core of who I am as a musician. It always has been. As a matter of fact, I'm already thinking about the next round of upgrades for this guitar. I want to replace these stock Kluson tuners with Kluson locking tuners, maybe even add a string butler to address some of the well-known Gibson tuning stability issues. There may even be a refinish at some point for this guitar. Who knows what the future holds? Well, that's all for today's video. If you're looking for parts for a Fender or Gibson guitar, I definitely recommend checking out the Stratosphere website. They have tons of parts, and their parts are cheaper than if you'd bought those same parts new. And remember folks, you keep watching my videos and I'll keep making them. Well, another video done. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you liked the video, please click the like button below. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. And if you have anything to share, please leave a comment below.